When we come on.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Keep the Mic On. I am Simply Sherry, and if you have been here for the past 2 years, you know that we are a collective of four artists, writers, poets who have found a way from the quarantine on to keep the mic on. Each week we have an interesting conversation, a riveting conversation with an artist. My week is called From Behind the Microphone, where we take the time to get to know the person behind the poem or the art behind the artist behind the art, because we're all people too. This is now a good time to tell everyone that we are streaming live. I am really excited, as always, about this week's interview. Right now, I'm going to kick it to the first Black Poet Laureate of Alexandria, Virginia, Kinnicky Jakarta.
Right, thank you. They don't call her Simply Sherry. I don't know. First of all, no, it's nothing simple about her. Let me just start that. Nothing simple about her. This is the perfect time for me to tell everybody, welcome to year 2. This is 2 years already. Welcome to year 2. That went by real fast. Keep the mic on. This is an amazing platform. We have been coined the masterclass. We do offer this free, and everybody that comes on, they offer their time for free. So if you would like to support us so we can keep the mic on, look at the bottom of your screen, scroll in at the bottom of your screen right there. Keep the mic on. We take Cash App. We have Patreon. We take all a little bit, a whole lot, and it would be amazing if you could do that. Tell your I'm laughing at Girl Genius. Tell your mama and them and all your friends that they should come on right now. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Again, I am Kinnicky Jakarta. My week is called Poets and Platforms, where I interview poets who have platforms for the arts. And right now, I'm going to kick it to the one, the only, Miss Cayenne. All right.
Hey everybody, I'm Miss Cayenne. I'm a poet and I know it. Welcome to another episode of Keep the Mic On. What a wonderful guest we have for you tonight. I am the interviewer or the host for the segment Passion Projects, where we interview creatives, poets, singers, just creatives, and we get deep into why they do what they do. I'm so excited to be a part of this team, these wonderful artists and entrepreneurs and art activists. It's just an awesome opportunity for me to be a part. And I'm on second Sunday, so next week join us too for the next guest. So, but that's irrelevant for right now. Our guest tonight is what we're going to focus on, and I'm going to kick it to the one, the only, Girl Genius.
Can I tell y'all how much I enjoy these intros every week?
But why every week I'm doing a little, when I look back on the videos, why am I doing a little shimmy like every time a little shimmy?
Because it's exciting.
It is
fun.
It's like who was it? Charlie Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
There was a thing about Charlie Murphy every time he would do the player haters ball skit. He would come in with the
hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Oh Lord, something's wrong with me today. Forgive me.
It's all good.
It's all good because it's a good night. It's a good night.
It is a good night. Every Sunday is a good night. I'm extremely happy and excited to be here. Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I am Danielle Reed, also known as Girl Genius. Happy to be with you this week on Keep the Mic On. This is my week. It's called Let's Talk About the ... Usually book. This week book. Gonna bring in some other things, but I like tangible things and like finding out the process behind how they got made. It's like how it's made, but for artists, like that's the model I use for this show. So I'm super excited to be here with you this week, and I'm super duper excited for our guest. Like I was like, you've been on the list for a minute, so yay for that. So I am going to read you this lovely bio as my co-hosts go backstage for the fun things. So give me 1 second. I will pull you in to do all the poems because I know you hear me. So our guest this week, and I'm so, again, yay, is Kirwyn Sutherland, who has like one of the more interesting bios that I've had on this show. I love when I get artists who have like really cool things in their bios. And as Nikki says, like you read your bio is usually by the time you read it, it's expired, but not quite. Here we go. So he is a clinical research professional and a poet who makes poems centering the Black experience in America. He's dope as hell. He's a Watering Hole Fellow, has attended workshops and residencies at Cave Canem, Winter Tangerine, Poets House, Philadelphia Sculpture Gym, Pearlstein Art Gallery at Drexel. He's been published in American Poetry Review, Cosmonauts Avenue, Blue Shift Journal. I mean, there's the whole things, The Wanderer, all kinds of things. He was the editor of List Books Reviewer for What's Good Magazine, poetry editor for Apiary. If y'all know what these are dope. And he's the facilitator for the Philly chapter of the No Name Book Club. And because he has a brand new book, yes, called Jump Ship on Thread, Thread Makes Blanket Press, that is why I was like, I need you here right now. So everyone, do the virtual applause thing because it's fantastic. I'm going to add him in and then jump out and you're going to hear from Kirwyn Sutherland.
Hello. How are you doing? How's everybody?
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to jump out and let you tell people who you are aside from the bio I just read.
No problem. Okay. I am Kirwyn Sutherland. I am a clinical research professional. So by day, I'm working on a lot of science stuff, and by every time else, I'm a poet. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm going to start with actually a newer poem, and we're going to kick it off like that. We wanted Kanye to walk on water forever, a revival. Lord, he spit Jesus out his backpack. Lord, baptize the baby's conscious, Lord. I heard a choir anoint a wave, Lord. Speakers flew from a crack in the pavement to the church and back and back. Lord, spin my spirit, Lord. Split the apple down to the congregation, Lord. Sin is a song that can be bent. Wire, lose its Lord, law of metal states. Congregation is just a line across white, Lord, teeth. Stay still for shaka, shock, fro, red, fire, Lord. Through flesh bloat, I see the outline of a star, Lord. He see himself dancing yet? Lord, laugh at how spit make the brain bend, Lord. Pop, 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 blow, pop, a confection, Lord. Quali, nothing but a kale smokestack, Lord. Real meal is no lineage. Anointing born from the invention of the solo, Lord. Bush don't care about niggas or something like that, Lord. A heart come undone from the mouth, Lord. I think a testimony, Lord. All our testaments rolled up in a line, Lord, which is why I guess all the tithes still tied up in a hero, Lord, a great black hope, a captain, a capital. We want to buy it, Lord, to pay for our 10-point plans so we get to pull it out our pockets, Lord. I wish free was this convenient. Kanye says the slave had a choice to stay or go. Saidia says the runaway slave appropriated space, stole themselves, rode a spaceship, Lord. The texts we choose to needle, Lord, the choice is clear. Spectacle, romance with Django, Lord. The plantations burning, the ashes land in the skin like seeds. Now they can be erected as museums, Lord. Progress, Lord. Taking the master's tools and becoming them, Lord. Trump cared more about the slave than Bush, Lord. He loved the field so much he let us decompose and come back as cotton plants, Lord. Kanye in whiteface, sky fell, Lord. And is this all the white man get paid off of, Lord? Show is prophecy. Show is prophet. Show is rap God, Lord. The closer he get to white light, the closer he get to closing the circle, Lord. His career, a recursive, a back bent along the sun. Praise the shadow of Black music, Lord. We want a totem, Lord, to smear our tears on a soft stone, Lord. He know we begging for him, Lord. Our mouths dry, Lord. We crack open for his light to bend in. Thank you.
You couldn't see me. I'm in the background like this, looking crazy. so audience of one is like the greatest thing ever, man. So I'm gonna tell you, I have been trying to. I've had a Kanye poem in my pocket for a while that I've been trying to finish, and I feel like I should now toss that over there.
No,
I think you've done it.
all the thoughts. Yeah.
Oh goodness. I'm glad you opened with that. Is that in the book?
No, it's not in the book. It's a very recent poem that I had in my mind. I had I had it just, I performed it last night, and it's just something that's been on my mind, not just Kanye, but just, celebrity in general and how we engage with it is something.
Him specifically, but we'll get to that conversation.
Yeah.
That whole thing. Yeah, I think about that because my concept was, I'm probably still, I don't know when I'm going to ever get around to it, but the concept for the one I had in my head was the 2006 version of him having a conversation with like the 2016 version of him.
That's an interesting one, and I would love to hear that poem.
but written all with actual quotes.
Oh yeah. So that's like what? That's a lot of different. That could come in a lot of different forms, I guess.
Yeah, written all with actual quotes from him. Because I feel the quotes just kind of speak for themselves. There's not a whole lot I can do with that.
Exactly. And there's so much you would be able to do with that would be a good poem. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sitting in there somewhere. I'll get back around to it because so much more has been said since I
it's a never-ending scroll.
Yeah, he's just wow. There's so much.
Yes.
And I want to feel some sort of way, but the whole stalker thing,
it's not
even close to a good look.
It's not okay. It's okay to say that, we can say it's not okay without qualifiers.
It's not okay.
That's what needs to happen.
That's a whole nother topic I could take on because I feel some sort of way about like cancel culture and things of that nature. Like I feel a way about that too.
It's
not about letting people slide with stuff. It's sometimes people are prone to make mistakes and do stuff, but when you publicly screw up that bad, like
no, like I think that like anything, that term has been taken by factions and groups and turned into something else and all that good stuff. It's a lot. Yeah.
But that's this whole side discussion. What I'm gonna ask you about, we're gonna start with first things first. Tell people the name of the book and where to find it.
Yes, so the name of the book is Jump Ship, and it's spelled just as Jump Ship. And you can find it on, if you look up AK Press, I believe it's akpress.org. And if it's not that, then you could just type AK Press in Google. Just type in AK Press and Jump Ship, and it's right on the website. That's where you can find it. And that's my distributor. And then Thread Makes Blanket Press is the publisher of the book.
Yeah, we have a silent male member analysis in the room somewhere because I saw him commenting. Yeah. He'll usually go find the books for me or anybody. Look, that's what happened. Listen, ask and you shall receive. It happens. You gotta know it. The things that happen. but yeah, I want to start. I always start with that because I want to keep talking about that like periodically, so people can go get the book. What we want people to do is follow you everywhere but home and buy the things.
Yes, exactly. I
Like,
love
get the books. Feed your soul, man. Feed your soul.
Absolutely.
I have a pretty decent book collection sitting over there, which means now I got to order a book so I can add it to the pretty decent book collection. It used to be within visible range of my arm, but now it's not. It's like way over across the room now. Damn it.
No, let me. Because I'll send you because I have books and I can sign them.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, I'll send you.
I tell people they kind of want to buy directly from the artist. But
yeah,
really cool things like signed copies of books.
True, very true. You'll get that.
I have all the good signed copies of the things because I love to have this. Like, I like knowing that like I got it directly from the person.
Absolutely. Yes.
He said that wasn't even him that posted the link. But thank you for looking out though, Analysis. I do. You stay looking for the books.
Yes.
I put it in there and it just popped up. I don't know what happened. It is what it is. There you go. So let's actually talk about this book. So tell us a bit about this book. Like, what? I know it's not the first book, right?
No, it's the first book with like an actual publisher.
Correct. Yeah.
It's like the third book. Yeah.
So because we're now in book 3, is there a theme with this book? Is there a specific inspiration behind this book?
Yeah, so I believe the inspiration is like working through my thoughts about how race and racism affected me. And so it's very much like thoughts in flux. Like I really kind of I think most of the inspiration for the book came during when I was in college. And when I was in college, like I went to college in Western PA, which is like all white pretty much, and I experienced a lot of racism. And that's kind of how I started writing, was because I experienced that racism. So I think this book is like a lot about exercising those demons, if you will, from college. And so I kind of think of it as an experiment or a project, as much as it is a book. I think about it as like, not only am I working through my thoughts about race, I'm working through what I think is my craft, like trying to find my actual voice. So I'm trying to do those two things simultaneously. And so because of that, it was tough to kind of whittle it down to a certain amount of poems and, try to figure out, what do I want the arrangement to be? How do I want things to combine, all that stuff. But overall it was like, just my like a discourse with race and a discourse with craft. Yeah.
Those are the kind of questions I ask usually on this show, is like, how do we get to the making the decisions and whittling things down? Because one of the things that always comes up, like when especially with newer writers, they ask about how you publish books and how you put things together. They always want to know, like, how do you cut stuff down? I'm like,
yes,
yeah, that's a thing.
It's tough.
That's a thing. That's probably the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Aside from actually write the materials, like, you have plenty of material. Like, how do we cut it down to something that actually makes sense?
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like, when I think, I want to say I had my first draft in 2017. So that was the first draft of the book. And I sent it to the editor, Hanif Abdul-Akib. So I sent it to the editor. Yeah. And I sent it to Hanif, and he was like, yo, this poem doesn't work with this book, And so he did like a lot of that through like, and so honestly, like from the first draft to this draft, I think only 4 or 5 poems made it. I took out a lot of what was in that first draft and reshaped the whole thing around Ars Poetica, which are poems about the craft of writing. So I reshaped the whole book around those 5 Ars Poetica poems, and so because those 5 were like my touchstones, like I kind of said, okay, I may want like 3 poems before this Ars Poetica, or I may want 2 poems in between these 2 Ars Poetica. And so that's kind of how I did it. And then and then theme wise and also amount wise, I kind of like did it that way,
I'm gonna throw this out there for anybody who's on the show who is not familiar. Like, he just threw this name in there that I think y'all should probably pay attention to.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Hanif Abdulrik
yes,
edited the book.
Yeah.
If you do not know who that is, he's written 2, 3 now books that have won like
either 2
New York
or 3.
Times, but they've made like New York Times bestseller list. They've won like crazy awards. Matter of fact, I'll tell you something, just sideline. Like, I got on a plane. I want to say back when I went on vacation in September.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on Southwest, and they have these little like things you can listen to in the Southwest app. And one of them was a series of classes from Hanif. I was like, I'm on a flight, like listening to, like, it wasn't like it was like, oh, you can watch this little, 3-minute video on the art of writing a poem. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me right now.
Wow.
I shot a picture of it because I meant to post it. It was wild. I was on like a 6-hour flight from Alaska or whatever, and I was like, I'm cracking up. This
I didn't even know I didn't even know they had those. Oh, that's wild.
They have these little like audio. They have some audio books, and they have some like little quick video things. And it's not TED Talks, but it's something kind of like that where you can take these little classes, like Coursera type things, on the Southwest app. And apparently that was built into I was like, that's nuts.
Listen, I need to have some classes on that app.
They're on there. They're on the Southwest app. I was like, I cannot right now. I was just on there shaking my head like, you're on a plane, you're on a 6-hour flight, and you find videos from friends.
Wow, that's wild.
Oh, now he posted Hanif's book link.
Oh yeah.
And now that's also somebody that I would love to pick his brain on this show. But woo,
yeah, a lot going on.
That's a lot.
And so I was thankful that he took the time to review a couple. He reviewed the first draft, and he reviewed the final draft, like what was supposed to be the final draft, and he provided like a blurb, and that was just like really generous of him to do, especially like somebody who like grew up in slam, looking up to like Hanif. It was that was great. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I was about to say, what's next is I know you via a slam background, but I also know the stuff that you don't slam with. Like, I've heard it and I've seen it and I've read it, so I also know that stuff too. Yeah. And there's not and you have. I'm trying to think topic wise. Like, this is right in that wheelhouse of like really good stuff. Like, if you like, for people who are not familiar, this is why we're here, because this is really a masterclass. If you've not familiarized yourself with Kirwyn's work, read the things. Like I said, I know we came from the slam background, but oh my God, on paper, it's a whole different ball game sometimes.
Thank you.
The slam poet, you're like, I missed something in the slam. Wait, let's go back and read this thing, and you're like, ooh.
No, for sure. And it was, and coming from that background, it was, like Hanif was somebody I looked up to, Slangston, who, because Slangston used to come down to the Pigeon, which is the Philadelphia Poetry Slam,
Yep.
And so he was one of the first poets that I saw at the Pigeon, which is, and then that's, people make way for you. So when I saw Slangston, like, slamming his blackety black poems, I was like, oh, like, I'm in there, I'm ready. You know what I mean? So, that just, because, like you learn poetry in school, but that, I never really was interested. But you hear the slam and you like, oh, like, now like that's something to do. I want to,
I said this about the person whose name I'm about to mention. So I actually studied poetry in school and college too, because I was a English major. So of course you had to take the requisite poetry classes. So, and I like that stuff, but I didn't really feel it until the first time that I walked into a poetry venue, and it happened to be DC Slam, and it happened that the feature was Talam AC.
Oh yes,
the very first one I walked into. So we had him on this show. We had him on the show, and I told him, and I said, I've been meaning to tell you this for like 20 years. As many times I've seen you, like, it just slips my mind. So I'm going to do this while we're on air. That it's a whole, like, he changed my perspective on what I realized you could do with poetry. Same thing with, like, your Slangstons, and Slangston's been on my segment before too. And Slangston's amazing.
Yes.
It changed. And shout out to Philly too. Shout out to the Pigeon in Philly, because that was, I think, my first Philly venue was Pigeon.
Oh yeah.
I rode up there for, I rode up there just because, because I could, like, okay, we're just gonna take a road trip to Philly.
Was it the WALPS qualifier or was it regular?
The first time it was just regular, and then I came up for WALPS qualifier. Yeah.
Okay, I think I was there for the WALPS qualifier. I think.
Yeah, I remember you for that. Before that, I just came up one time just because at the time I was new to slam, where I had just gotten back into it, and I really committed to it, and was like, okay, I'm gonna slam this year. Okay, we do that. And I was basically in a position to, outside was open and I could ride up and down the East Coast, and I was going to Philly and then Baltimore, and I lived in Virginia at the time, so I was going from Virginia, from just outside of DC to Richmond to Philly to Baltimore, because I could. I live in Baltimore now. I can still do that, but outside ain't been open.
Exactly.
And now outside's open, they're like, yeah, not so much. Gas prices in World War III. Nah, I'm good.
Exactly.
It's a weird space. I'm glad that we've been able to sort of, a lot of writers and poets have been able to use it to thrive and put out projects. So having said that, I'll ask you, like, what kinds of things you were working on during quarantine. I mean, quarantine sort of sprung the show. Like, we did this because we could not go outside. We've been here 2 years because we could not go outside. It's now been officially in a week. It's been 2 years.
Wow. That's tough to think about. Like, honestly, like I think two big things happened during quarantine for me. One was, my father had gotten COVID. So like that was a big thing. And luckily he survived it, but he was on like a ventilator for like 3 days. And we so that was just like a whole thing. And, making sure the doctors were on point. I was like the contact person for everybody. And it was very tough. And so I think that from then for like a year of that, I think I just wasn't doing like anything but work, just like my 9 to 5. That's all I was doing. And then the second thing was I made like a concerted effort to find a job that I really, really liked. I think usually like I was just like, all right, well, this job pays market rate and I'm gonna just go to this job. But I was like, if I'm gonna be in this industry, like I really need to find the job that I want, demand the salary that I want, and just go for it. And so that's what I did, is that I found a job where they were working on a sickle cell drug. and I'm really passionate about, sickle cell. And so I found that job, and I had it since June of last year. And so I'm just now starting to get back to writing. like
I get it.
ago,
I get it.
like a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago is when I started to form the projects that I'm working on now. So it's so I'm hoping by the end of the year I'll have some good material for something. And so, it's just it's almost now I feel like the writing is starting.
I understand that. I really, really do, because the beginning of just before the pandemic started and before the show, I lost my mother. And literally it was like that to now we're in lockdown. And it wasn't COVID related. I mean, she had been sick for about 6 months, and then it just happened to coincide with the day that I got back from that trip was the day we went into quarantine.
No,
not even kidding. So it's I didn't even go back to work. I been working from home for 2 years.
Yes.
So same deal. We all had to make, some weird choices, and I made a concerted effort to really get some other things in order.
Mm-hmm.
And then it took a minute to get back into the writing stuff. So I've gotten back into trying to, just this last year, I'm really going to focus on the craft and get back to doing the kind of writing I was doing before. It's hard, but it's hard when you've been sort of out of practice for a second.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, and then in that, I mean, there were some good things in there for me as well. There were some really good things that happened that it's weird, good news in the midst of a whole bunch of, you already know, the last was insane. So
yeah, no, it's been a tough time, but yeah, it's been some good news in there. And and I think it's just trying to figure out a new way of, because it's all these in betweens, right? You're we're sort of back in everything, and so they relax in the mandates. Oh, but then they're not. So it's
they're not, right.
Figure all of this stuff out, and so I think it's just been me, and in this place, just trying to remain as consistent as I can be, so I don't move with all of these other things that are happening.
That's one of the beauties of this show is, like I said, we kind of can't. We were born of, the lockdown. But it's allowed us to have really interesting conversations with people we would not have normally maybe sat down for 2 hours with at a time. I know y'all, and I see you when you're here. But if you're not here, I'm not having consistent conversations with you guys all the time. So it's nice to be here's some things I didn't know. Here's some really I think, who was the other person? We've had 2 other people on here that work in research, clinical stuff, and nursing.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had at least 2 or 3 other people on here that have done that kind of stuff, and I'm just I wouldn't have thought it. I can see it, but I wouldn't have thought it had you not said anything.
Right. Yeah.
We have discussions on this show all the time when you find we all found out at some point what each other does for a living, outside of
exactly.
the 4 of us. We were really?
Right. That's always a bit of a discovery.
Tommy, you ain't got no job.
Exactly. That's my show. Oh, man.
I feel like I'm gonna always get my black card revoked. So, little secret.
Okay.
I've never been a fan of Martin. The show. Not him, the show.
That is my favorite show.
And my logic here is, I always, if you ever go back and watch, especially now after the show's been over for a while, it's the same 3 jokes every episode. It's literally some variation of the same 3 jokes.
I can see that, yes.
And they're always like, listen, I got a couple things that are probably get my black card revoked. That's one of them.
I can see
That's
that.
the way-
It's fun. It's consistent. Maybe that's why I just love it.
It
Because
is consistent. It is consistent, but it's literally the same 3 jokes every episode.
I can see that.
I'm like, okay.
No, that's like my go-to every time. Like I'm just like, working and need something in the background. Like that's my go-to, Martin.
My weird go-to is always like, so don't be Minister South Central while drinking juice in the hood.
Yes, I love that
That's
movie.
my go-to. That is my go-to. I need to laugh or having a bad day. Watch that movie. I don't care. Or Undercover Brother. Don't know about how many times I've seen either one.
Yes.
I've seen both at least 100 times. I could quote them word for word. I promise you. However,
Cult classic. I love those.
and every time you watch, you find something. Especially with the first one, you always see something different every time you watch it.
Absolutely.
Every time.
Absolutely.
See, Miko just said, "Damn!" Now we listen for the same 3 jokes. The same 3 jokes are it's always the yo mama back and forth with Pam and
Yep.
Martin. It's
Absolutely.
always yep, that's one of them. It's always the same 3 jokes. I promise you, it's some variation of the same 3 jokes,
which we all love. Yeah, no, and it's funny because I think that brings up like, it's like when you go back and look at these things, you can like pick up on things that with a lens today, it's like, yeah, that's like, that's messed up. Like it's so
it is.
Yeah.
It is, but it brings up a good point about like evolving. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
poets do that too. Like you have like
Sure.
poets do that mess too. Like you'll hear them and you're like, you do the same 3 poems over and over and over. And I don't know if it's because you're doing it because you think that's what people like, and sometimes it is,
Yeah.
or if you're really just not, as poets, sometimes we have to, go out and do things and experience things to have material,
Right.
and realize that material is everywhere.
Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think sometimes we get kind of like in that echo chamber where, we hear like some of the same things because for me, like it's kind of about like when I hear like the same, I'm like more attached to like voice and cadence and delivery. And when I hear the same cadence delivery, that's when I'm like, oh, so you've been listening to Chakra. I hear that
you've been listening to. I could name 5 people that I've heard this cadence delivery, and I know who started it, and I know where what you've been listening to.
Absolutely,
I did that somewhere, and I gotta remember where I was. I was in a particular city. Oh, and now I know what city it was, and so I'm gonna leave that alone.
Okay.
I was in a particular city where everybody had the same like rhyme scheme, and cadence, to the point where I could stand there and tell you the next word they were going to say at the end of the line, and I literally did it. And I was like, it's not because the poem is bad; it's just because that everybody has adapted this rhyme scheme and this cadence. It's like it's A B A B A B A B, where I could like hit it, and I knew the next word that was coming.
Absolutely. And I think that's when it's like, you gotta, when I tell, like, I teach spoken word at University of the Arts, and I like, that's one of the first lessons. I'm like, yo, like, dive deep into the content and find the voice inside the content. Like your words, like let the words bring out the voice. You know what I mean? And so, because like I hate going to a slam and hearing like the same. I don't like it, because you give reverence. Like it's good in a sense, because then it's like, oh wow, like Chakra or Ebony Stewart or their lineages are being brought down, and you can see like, oh, you're trying to. I see what you're trying to do, but also you want to like pivot off of that and be able to come up with your own voice.
That part. You want to be like I can tell you where I got some of my stuff from. However, somewhere in there, you have to figure out that voice isn't yours.
Absolutely.
Those poems aren't yours to write. You are not meant to do every single poem on volume 10,000. That ain't your voice.
100%. 100%. Like, in the last joint, I heard you bring up the joint you did during National Poetry Month. The book of prompts, and I was like, yo, that's a great way to like, get some variation in your voice, because those
I keep them online. There's like 4 or 5 of them, and I'm not doing one for this go round because I am doing WAUPS this year because it's in Baltimore.
Hey. Oh yes.
And so
yes.
right, and so it's in 3 weeks, so I'm not going to have enough time to sit with the book and like I normally do. Like I tried to increase it by 30 every time.
Mm-hmm.
So that you had, like, I started with 30, then I went to 60, then I went to 90, then I was like, at the, the 120, and then I did 150, and I think I stopped at like 150.
Wow.
Like I would have just kept adding a new 30, and I don't do the same ones. I'll repeat maybe like a handful, and then I try to throw new ones in so that you're not writing the same thing, even if those prompts inspire you to do other things. But I do keep them online. And I know Miss Cayenne does prompts on her page. Rebecca's here, and I know she does. She does stuff too. She definitely throws prompts up. She does harvest, and so there's always places to find these things and to keep the voice fresh. Because what I don't want is, while you may hear me repeat a poem because I'm working through the poem, at a certain point it stops being reflective of where I am as a poet.
Absolutely. Yes, correct.
So it stops sounding like me. Like, I am not that angry person that wrote this poem 10 years ago.
Right.
I pigeonholed myself for a while and just wrote a bunch, like I was writing my feelings out. Rebecca said, there it is. It's up on the thing. She says it's every April and October. Good. April is coming. April is coming, which means if y'all go over there, find Harvest Society, because those are some. I still am sitting on a prompt that I really want to touch on that she posted. Like, I've been sitting on it for a little bit because I really wanted to dig into that one. I just picked it back up because I had an idea for what I wanted to do with it too. I'm not going to tell you which one. I'm just going to I'm talking to Rebecca. I'm not going to tell you which one, but you had one that I'm like, ooh, this is good. But I wanted to sit with it for a little while. So I'm just saying, like, you're not the person you were 10 years ago.
Absolutely. And I think that when I look at, like, when I went to National Poetry Slam in 2015, like I have like an Eric Garner poem that's online, and the way it was performed and the way and the lines, I think I would probably not do that today. But it's a good marker for, then till now. And I get to see like how I interpreted things, how I distilled information down into poems, and what that looked like then and what that looks like now. And it's good to study, and it's good to like really, really look at like, like how did I come from there till now, So yeah.
With poems like that one, not necessarily ones that have been done and posted up, but with ones that do you ever think about going back and doing edits, not necessarily whole rewrites, but do you ever go back and go, this was good for what it was back in 2015, but some things have changed and my voice has changed. Now, can I redo this in a way can I remix this in a way that makes sense?
On a whole, like I try, I probably don't do that, but there are a couple poems that I have like made like a little bit of edits to like I know I have this When a White Woman Cries in Public poem, and I have like edited that. I really don't need to edit that much because You know, it's what do I mean, it's still
right. It's there.
You know, but yeah. So there are some times where I'll go back and see if I can like, you know, like do something with the piece to, you know, revisit. Usually I don't because you know, I'm honestly kind of like, you know, new thing. Like
Yeah.
like it's so difficult for me to like go back and look at and try to see, you know, how I can like if it still works and if it can like work today and if I could like sort of, you know, revise it to see if it still works today. But I feel like just reading those poems has been really helpful for me because when I read them and I'm like, oh, that's, you know, that's interesting that I'm like maybe still writing about this, not writing about this, or I'm writing about an evolved form of this, or, you know, or I still have these same words, you know, because a lot of times you like write around maybe like some of the same words. There's some of the same words in these poems, and why is this word still, you know, coming up for me? And so those are the things that I like to do. Yeah.
I just found one from my first book that is I really like it. It was not ever meant to be never meant to be a slam piece. It was a written piece, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, how to turn this into something that I can actually perform on stage. This poem was not written for that, but I'm finding a way to do it. And I'm like, I really want to go back and look at not necessarily my finished stuff, but some of my unfinished stuff.
Yeah.
I talk about this sometimes with the writing process. Like I don't want to call it a dump file, but I keep a file full of stuff that I either didn't finish or like, here's a really good line. And I'm a weird concept writer. And so I have like, you know, a concept and I'll put it in the middle and then write above and below and try to figure out like where this thing lands in the concept. Sometimes it's the last line, sometimes it's never been the first line for me, except for once. I take that back. My library poem, the first line was the concept line. Right. But usually it falls somewhere in the middle. And I keep this because I'm like, I wonder if some perspective yeah, exactly. Somebody's like, yep, an unfinished folder. I wonder if sometimes if perspective makes it easier to go back and go, okay, maybe this isn't where I was going with this when I started, but it's kind of relevant.
Yeah.
Or it's a good starter for something else. Like, do you do that?
Yeah, like I know and I especially do it like because I tend to like put like my unfinished folder is like my notes app. And so I put like some of these like just quick things into my notes app. So I have like 600 notes like that. I have like all of these lines and stuff. And so like I'll go like if I'm like looking like if I have like a performance coming up or even if I'm just trying to write a poem, like I'll look in those notes apps to see like, you know, like, can I make something out of this, like half a poem, or can I like, you know, like what was I thinking about here? And, you know, and does that need to be extended? And so, yeah, I do that. Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, what exactly was I thinking?
Right.
That was not a good idea.
That happens a lot. That's why I love that.
That 3:00 in the morning pancake stack put a weird idea in my head that I couldn't even begin to tell you where the hell I was and what happened was, but there's this random ass line.
Exactly.
Leave that over there. Over there. I have a couple of those where I'm just like, ooh, yeah, that's bad.
Yes. I'm like, damn, like I was slipping when I was I
don't know what was going on that day, but I was having a moment and it was not a pleasant one. We ain't gonna talk about my notes. I have Evernote Notebooks on top of notebooks on top of notebooks on top of
Oh
notebooks
man.
of woo. I also have a stack of like, listen, every year my thing is right about August, Target and Walmart be having like, spirals on sale for like a quarter.
Oh yeah. Get a bunch of those.
I got a stack of spirals.
Oh my God.
That sit in my bookshelf. They get full, I put them away. Like when I'm done using them, I actually keep them. They're in a file cabinet. And that's part of my process too. Is like, here's this thing. Like, yeah, I can access them if I actually needed to. Like, right. This is the process part of the conversation. What does it look like for you? Like, what kind of writer are you? Do you do the let me sit down on my computer? Do you do the I'm old school and I gotta write some things? Do you need to have stuff on in the background? Like, what does this process look like for you?
Right now, the best way that I'm writing is like at night, like before I'm going to bed, I'm like laying down and writing in my notes app. Like that's like the best. And I think it's because like I don't feel any stakes. Like I don't feel like I have to do anything. Like it just feels like I could just like write however. I think before, like I used to sit at my desk, and used to like, write with pen or pencil. And it just felt like a little bit too formal. And so the self-editor would just like chop up my poems. Like they would just be like random lines together, which, can be a thing. But I wouldn't be able to get like all of my thoughts out because, I would just be trying to go ahead of like my poem instead of like letting it discover itself. And so like when I'm laying down, like, and just like in the notes app, like I could just go like, and then I can go back to the formality and be able to, do whatever I need to do. So that's currently what my process looks like. Yeah.
I feel this self-editing thing really hard because it took me so because I am a formally trained writer, like that's what I do for a living, and that's I'm a technical writer. So because that's how I was trained, my brain wants to self-edit all the other stuff.
Yes.
And it took me a long time to figure out how to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It just took me a while to figure out how to nope, light off, don't do that.
Yes.
I also was told the weird fact. I was also told that's the reason why I can't freestyle. Because like the moment you freestyle, if you are like a hardcore editor, your brain wants to edit it before it comes out of your mouth.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm already like 10 lines ahead of myself with edits before it even comes out. So like, no, turn off the editor, just go.
Right. That's so hard. Like
it really is, because we are in all things our own harshest critics.
Absolutely.
So it's really hard, especially as writers, to turn that off. Like sometimes you just have to be like, okay, look, I'm done. Just write the thing. Fix it later. Fix it later. I know you didn't spell it. Fix it later.
Fix it later. Yes. I gotta tell myself that all the time.
Fix it later. I know you didn't like it. I know you didn't spell it right. I know that doesn't make sense now. Go back, fix it later. Change words later.
It's okay. It's okay. And I have to tell myself that it's okay to, just, it may not make sense. Fine. It may not come out. The line may not come out how you envision it. Fine. Just keep on going. Keep on going.
Keep going. Like keep going. You got something on paper. Just keep the pen moving. You're fine. Or keep the notes app flowing. Or keep the keyboard clicking. Just do whatever you got to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's been a process with, and I think that's like a little bit, for me, it's like it was a little bit deeper, and and I think it's not like a mistake that a lot of good therapy coincided with me being able to do that.
I am a whole advocate for therapy. I wrote my whole last poetry book was poems written while I was in therapy.
Yes, because that really kind of like, it really takes you to like the root of what, you know, what the issue is, because it is like self-editing. But I know for me, it was just like, yo, you just like, you know, you have this thing about, you know, mistakes overall. Like you just have this thing about, you know, wanting to be right the first time. And it's just not realistic. And so I had to really kind of deal with that in myself and be able to just like, you know, in every aspect of my life, be able to be like, you know, no, because it's just be regular text that I be self-edited. And I'm just like, I can't be texting with friends and family and trying to edit myself. Like, this is crazy.
No,
you know what I mean?
no, yeah,
It's just bad,
yeah.
you know?
Yep, yeah. It's like, why do you write whole sentences in your text messages? Because what we don't do around here is bad grammar.
Oh, it's rough.
Like, no. But but I like kind of digging into this sort of stuff because you know, the thing I want to sort of impress to people who knew or been here for a while is that you know, the process is always different.
Yep.
We've had people on here who write every single day without fail, no matter what it is. And then there's some people who are like, yeah, no, just whenever it hits me. Or, you know, I wake up first thing in the morning and I write. Or no, I have to be in a specific, like, no, it doesn't look like that.
Right.
How many of us have written poems on a napkin, a back of a receipt? Like the idea has hit you, my phone is dead, and I have a writing utensil in my hand, make it happen.
Listen, anything, you know, and that's the beauty of it. It's like you could, you know, and the thing about writing every day, and that's what I had to, because I heard this this craft lecture by Terrence Hayes. When he was writing
We'll discuss that.
yeah, like American Sonnets to My Past and Future Assassin. He said when he was writing those sonnets, he like viewed it like if I was like, you know, going to the gym and just throwing up shots. Like this is why you know, I'm just, when I'm writing, I'm just throwing up shots. Like, you know, the shot is going to do what the shot is going to do, but you know, I'm just like writing into it. And so that kind of reframed also my mind in the sense that like, okay, this is like practice. Like I don't necessarily have to have like some crazy great poem out the first time. This is like just, you know, putting up shots. Like, and so I think that also helped me, you know.
I'm big on, like, again, we emphasize I'm here. I'm big on editing and coming back to stuff and
Yes.
fresh your eyes and
Yes.
not worried about the first time. I'm big on that one. Edits. Write first, edit later.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Write first, edit later.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm taking my own advice here. Write first, edit later. I definitely have to, again, take my own, you know, advice. So speaking of Terrence Hayes, I'll throw this out too. His book, Lighthead. Let me tell you, I read that I was sitting. Somebody recommended it to me, and didn't tell me about the, you know, all the things. And I happened to come across one of my favorite poems, which is it's literally, if you see the book, it looks crazy. I found the Golden Shovel poem. I figured it out. I yelled "fuck" as loud as possible in the middle of Barnes and Noble and threw the damn book. I threw the book across the room.
Yes.
That's one of those, like, I quit, I tap out, I'm done. That poem is so freaking amazing. And I've talked about it. I think I've talked about it on a different episode, like way back in the beginning. But if you've never read that poem, I have a link for it somewhere. I promise you, I will post it in here. And while we're doing the questions at the end, I'll make a note to myself to find that link for specifically, because you have to actually see the poem, like visually, to understand what I'm talking about. But I literally yelled the F-bomb in the middle of Barnes and Nobles and threw the book. I hadn't even paid for it yet. I just threw the book. That's where I was.
I love those poems. I love those poems that like evoke that type of reaction. You know, there has to be like a genre or a list of those poems. I think for me it was Layli Long Soldier's 38. Layli Long Soldier has a book called Whereas, and she has a poem called 38, and it's like a mix of poetry and prose, but the ending of that poem is like, insane. It's about like, the Native American territories and the U.S. occupation of them. And
why do I think I've read this?
you
I feel
might,
like I feel like it's been a minute, but I feel this poem is very familiar. Let's okay, spell it, because we're gonna put this here so we can find this link too.
okay, Layli, Layli, and then Long Soldier spelled how those are spelled, and then 38 is the poem.
And the poem is called 30. I will find this bad boy right here.
Yes.
I feel like, this is, I want to say I've either heard this poem or I've read this poem, and it's been a minute, but I remember this.
I'm sure. Yeah, no. And I love that because it's, I guess, like when definitely in slam, you have those poems where it's just like, and I think, and I love that whole communal space because it's like everybody gets the spirit, like I love that.
Yeah. And it is different because we can't all be in the space.
Right. Right.
But I will tell you, I've done more than a few. Thankfully, people have, like they'll be in a room and it'll be like this, and there'll be 10, 15 of us, doing the workshops, and you're just like, I almost feel it. I know by myself, but I'm watching other people's faces.
Yes.
And I can see it, like just getting excited about the work, and like you find that one poem that everybody's like, oof.
Yes. I love that.
That's the gut punch. Like, what just happened?
I love it.
Like the one good gut punch poem is always like, phenomenal to me.
Yes.
Like you read someone's face and feel like I just changed someone's mind about how this works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's always the great part. That's always the great part.
Same. I'm like, I feel there's some of yours are like that, where I was like, I know that there's a couple in there that are just like gut punch. God damn it, I'm done writing right now.
Yeah,
I mentioned this earlier. I'm a huge fan of your writing. Like huge fan of your writing.
I appreciate that, and it's and like I say, I say and said all the time. I mean, it's just like I get energy from hearing other folks, like what Chakra is doing. It to me is amazing, and I get energy from Chakra. I get energy from Portia O. I get energy from Crystal Valentine, Ebony Stewart. I get energy from Brian Mecca, 13. Like I get like every time I hear these poems, like it's like to me it's like just a lineage continuation, a spiritual continuation. Like it's like we're all like talking to and across each other, and and that's the most beautiful thing. What I mean?
Look at this. Look at the team that found the poem.
Yes,
I'll find the other one during the comments. But
yeah, that one is it's great.
Y'all copy links because all the jewels get dropped. I'm gonna say, not only am I finding like the people that I came into slam with or that came in after me, but even now, like some of the younger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who are your favorite younger slam poets?
There's a couple of people that are on the come up that I'm like, give them a year or two.
Okay.
And they're going to shred everybody.
I love that.
They're just gonna shred everybody. And now I qualify this by saying, understand when I say younger, they're not just age younger than me, but they're not just age younger than me, but they're maybe been in like a couple of years. Hold on, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. My nosy dog has decided to come in and listen to the interview. This is hilarious. I have a dog in my lap now because she walked in here and decided to sit on me. Yeah, I just heard a couple of really, like, I don't want to throw names out because I don't want everybody to be like, oh, yep. No, but there's a couple of people that I've been like keeping an eye on, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Give them a year or two.
Same.
Give them a year or two.
You know, same. Like I see, like, just, you know, it's just amazing to me, like how, you know, even seeing folks like just like from when, like, actually, like I judged a slam. KP, Christopher KP Wentz, who was a poet in Philly. He, yeah, who's dope poet, organizer, all that stuff. He asked me, he was like, yo, I'm going to judge this slam in Baltimore. Did you want to go? And I think it was like me, KP, B. Sharice Moore, Femi Dryfish, and Rebecca. I think all of us were, or no, Rebecca was hosting. I think Rebecca was either hosting or judging. But we were at that slam, and like I remember seeing like Grim there, and I think Grim was like either like early high school or elementary or like younger. Ooh. You know, and so that was like a while ago, you know, and so it's I love those times when I saw people, and I'm sure I saw Mecca there too, but I love those times when I saw those poets who I saw like kind of younger, and then I saw them like later and seeing their progress. I love seeing that. You know, that's just really dope.
Duke the Root is one of those people that I was there for his first slam.
Wow.
We were at the same slam, and I was like, "You slamming?" He was like, "I don't know." We literally had to talk him into slamming. And now it's like, really, dude?
Yeah, he's really dope. He came
amazing.
He came to Philly one time. Him and Kenneth came together, and of course I knew about Kenneth. Kenneth's dope, and Duke the Root was really dope. I was like, yeah, he's great. He's great.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's a couple people like they came in, they were babies, and now I'm like looking at them going, yay, like y'all are giving me grief right now.
That happens too.
But I love it. Y'all came in here and y'all are giving me grief.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because, like I said, my little buddy is up in here, and we're talking about.
I figured that's what it was.
I have a 60-pound pit bull who is trying to sit in my lap.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I was like, she really wants to be here for this interview. But normally she doesn't. You know what? I don't even care. Go ahead. She's all right. She ain't bothering nobody. So anyway, I was going to say, we got a couple more questions, and then we will start bringing people back in for Q&A.
Okay.
So I'm going to say this now. If y'all if anybody in the audience has questions, you can start posting them now in the chat, just while you're thinking about things. So I talk about writing. Now the question is, what are you reading?
Oh gosh, so much. Okay. I'm reading. So I'm reading well, the new the no-name book for this month is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, and so we're reading that. I'm reading that right now, and I haven't read that yet.
It's good. It's very good.
I can't wait. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about reading that. I'm also reading where's this book? Tragic City. It's a book by a poet named Clemence Hurd, and it's about the Black Wall Street. So I'm reading that book, and I am reading Patrick Rosal's collected book. I think it's called This. What is this? This Last Thing or something like that. And so I always read like 4 or 5 books at a time. And also I'm reading because I'm writing one of the projects I'm working on is about Tuskegee. So I'm reading like Bad Blood, which is about the Tuskegee experiment. So those are that's kind of what I'm reading now.
So wait a minute, but so you are working on another project about Tuskegee. Okay.
It's kind of about scientific experimentation on Black folks. So it's like, Henrietta Lacks and Tuskegee experiment, and the P.T. Barnum, and so it's about experimentation on Black people, both scientific wise and also socially. So
poetry or
a mixture, lyric
okay.
essay. It's a lyric essay, yep. And so that's what I'm working on now. And so I'm like I'm also reading Shadow of the Plantation by Charles Johnson, which is a book about like going into the region where Tuskegee happened and kind of interviewing folks, which so I'm reading those books, and and I'm just starting to like put the research together, and I'm probably starting to write my first essay like this upcoming week. So that's going to take a while, and so I'm excited about working on it.
Listen, the crossover of like, here's what you do for a living, and let me take that and mix in the artistic portion of what I do for a living.
Right. Exactly.
I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
That's why I was like I said, we were talking about this earlier. That's why I always like finding out, like, what do you do? Like, what do you do when you're not doing this?
Yes. And that's kind of, my mind is like consumed with, scientific numbers like all day. And I'm like, I want to be able to like, I've been trying to write stuff about, science like for a while. And this was the way that made the most sense to me. And so, I'm excited about it. And so I'm working on that. And I'm also working on, other project, about Paperboy, the character on Atlanta.
Oh! My brain went way over there somewhere. I was like, wait, what?
Not the Lee Daniels movie, but
no, that's why I was like, wait. I don't know. That's a leap.
Paperboy, the character on Atlanta.
That's a leap.
And so that's like that's a book about being that's a book about like, I guess, fatness, fat phobia. Also a book about like, owning, like trying to find yourself within your body. And so, so I'm working on those 2 things. Those are 2 things I'm working on. So a lot of my reading is kind of around, those things. Yeah.
No, but I'm curating a reading list. So I always ask people what they're reading. We curate a reading list around here. We're like, listen, these are some things.
Yes, let's get it.
between the people we have on here as authors and the things that our authors are reading, I curate the reading list.
That's what's up.
And actually, my last question for this interview, because you actually answered my next last question, which is, what are you working on?
Oh, yes.
Oddly enough, because I want to give people enough time to ask the questions and for you to do another piece and all that other good, fun, fantastic stuff. And I see Mr. Analysis has popped himself in the backstage, so I know he's going to have all kinds of questions because that's what he does.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a hard question considering the conversation we just had.
Okay.
Ready? Who is, you can take one or all, right? Who is or what is your favorite book, author, or quote?
Wow.
Leave us the parting words for the segment. That's what we do. That's why I say book, author, or quote. What's the thing you end with?
I'll go with my favorite book. So I think I'll say my favorite book is Neon Vernacular by Yusef Kamanyaka. Yeah, that book opened up so much for me when it came to like thinking about metaphor and what I could do as far as writing. It just really kind of like blew my mind away. And so I come back to that book a lot. And so and Yusef Kamanyaka is a poet who really kind of just blew open my mind when it came to poetry. So yeah, so I would say that's probably the book that I've read the most and probably my favorite book. Yeah.
I was like looking to ensure that I've spelled his name correctly because
Yeah,
let
it's
me tell you, I know I got it, but I'm
oh,
gonna
you
put
got
it in the chat.
it.
I was like typing fast. I was like, that doesn't look right. So downstairs, and I say this all the time. Downstairs. Oh, I wrote his name twice because I copied both of them. Just trust me. Just go with whatever's in the second part.
Yeah.
So downstairs underneath this office, there is a little room that has a art wall, and I always have pictures of artists. I have one picture of you. Not all my pictures are back up yet because we just moved in this house like 6 months ago, and I'm still trying to fix that room downstairs. So I believe I have one picture of you that's going up on the wall, and I have this epic picture from, I want to say, one of the Split This Rocks. It's a picture they asked me to take, and it happened to be on my phone.
Wow.
Of Yusef Komanyaka, Franny Choi, and Wang Ping in the same picture.
Wow.
I was like, oh, you want me to do what with what? Okay, there you go. So that picture is downstairs.
Yes. Split This Rock. Yes, that was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I could talk a lot about Split This Rock. I think I might have been at that Split This Rock because I remember seeing Wang Ping, Yusef Komanyaka, and Franny Choi. I might have been there.
The three of them in one picture that they asked me to take, and I have it. It's downstairs, and it's like the greatest picture.
Amazing. No.
I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here and mind my business and take this picture. There you go.
Exactly.
So that is it for my immediate questions.
Okay.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna step out and let you do a poem.
Okay.
After which I will bring in the other host and have them ask the things. And if anybody while you're doing this has questions, I advise you to throw them in the chat. Yes, I'm saying that loud enough for everybody to hear me. Throw your questions in the chat. I'm gonna step out.
Okay, so this is a poem from my book Jump Ship on AK Press, and it's called Assimilation. A black can be white to get off all fours. A black can unbeast. A black can order the body to lay still when the moon is fully erect. A black can pour bleach over hands and conjure a receding of shade. A black can swap colors. A black has all the spit to breed a field of black. A black can offer up seed to be picked for the right price. A black can be cash crop and seller of their own people. A black can have a heart that beats outside of their body. Here, my mouth is clean with education, elaborate diction, robust vocabulary, sentences that bend and dip, short and long, conjoined or fragmented. I can do it all. I know the white man's English better than he do. I know the white man's English better than he does. I don't slip past slang. I wash the taste of riff out of my mouth and pour in standard oldies. I am now gold, with gums the color of the American flag. Dear God, in this dream, I am on a ship. and it smells like a landfill of corpses. And I can see the sky after a body leaps past the sun. And I can hear a loud splash and foam and foam. And I see a shark fin darting through the water. And through the screams, I hear a dull moan, the sound of death becoming as necessary as food. And I feel hard, cold metal in my hands. And I shake the chain to hear the clanking and look up and see dark faces and columns and rows and all forms of decomposition. And I am the one holding the anchor. And that other nigga at my job don't know how to shut up. Mouth so big you can see his teeth gleam. Smile so bright it bounces off a cubicle. Laugh so loud, I'm sure the manager perk up. She on the lookout for the next nigga to cut and serve to the unemployment line. Ain't gonna be me, no. See, I evolve. I know how to swim in an ocean of milk. That nigga lactose intolerant. Last time I saw him, he had a bloated stomach, washed up on the shore of some ghetto. Can't remember if I said bye. When I heard my coworker say nigger, it almost knocked the whiteness out of me. But I caught it with my fist and prayed whiteness wouldn't confuse it for grabbing. Pray that whiteness wouldn't confuse it for grabbing a power move because I want it. I want to be looked at as worthy. I want to be held up like a trophy. I want the glory. Even if I have to pin down the hood in me, I want to get it out. I bring the lynch mob. I draw up the bath of fire while the white faces laugh. And I match their notes, and I see my new face. Thank you.
I realize I'm muted. I'm gonna start bringing people back in.
Okay.
So I don't know where Sherry went to, but when she comes there, she goes. Let's pull you back in.
Let me just say, wow, you better extend some Black History Month and do a Black poem. You better
That part.
Be Black.
be Black 365
Black is
days.
black, black
Right.
is black all the time.
Yes, yes.
All right. So, Kirwyn, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I got my own interview inside of Danielle's interview. So, my first question is because every time I see you, you're doing a social justice piece. I'm curious, have you ever written a love poem?
I have. I've written a couple love poems, and most of, I guess, the ones that I've written, they were. I'm trying to write like an actual love poem and not write like a love poem that's a commentary on love. You know, like that. That's somewhat of love. But you know, I have like a group of poems that are about my mother that I consider love poems. But yeah, I'm challenged. I think I'm a little bit challenged with writing about love and also like letting love into my poems is something that I'm working on. So yeah,
It's hard for a lot of people.
It is. But I was just curious because usually everybody I've come across at least has one in the tank, and I'm going, you know what? I have never even heard Kirwyn brush across the topic of love. So that's why I wanted to ask that question.
absolutely.
Second question. So we were talking about earlier about your notes app on your phone. Yeah, I got 70 in mine too. But so the question is, have you ever considered that note, that line is the poem or is a completed thought?
No, I don't think so. But that's a good point. That you know that just could be it, and you know, and so yeah. So no, I think that's totally valid because I think maybe sometimes this don't need to be messed with. You know, like so yeah. No, I think that's a good point. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've talked about this with the person I was writing the poem about. That I was just pissed off one day, and I was writing this poem. I was hot, y'all. That's what I remember. And whatever I wrote was really good, but I lost it. But there's a line that came out of it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and write another poem to that. Like that's going to be the prompt. And the more I thought about it, I've decided that no, that is the poem. That line is the entire poem.
Right.
And I'm just going to leave it alone.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
And since Rebecca was watching, I'm going to ask her question. She came up with this one she brought this one to us about 3 or 4 months ago. And ever since, I'm like, that is such a good question. What is the subject or the name of the poem that you haven't written yet?
Honestly, I would say there's a poem about whales that I haven't written yet. Like, I say that because like I went to a whale camp, and there are a lot of memories there. So I think there's a lot there that I haven't written about. You know, yeah. So
I ask questions. What's whale camp?
You basically like you go. I went to Canada, so I went to Nova Scotia, and for like 8 weeks. And you basically like go out on the, on the ocean every day and just like watch for whales and
I want to do that.
Yeah, it was dope, And I have like so many memories from that time that I haven't even touched, So I'm gonna charge that for myself to do. Yeah.
You should have put up a Facebook post. We would have came with you. You ain't even invited us.
You needed to let us know. I didn't do that.
Live on Keep the Mic On live from Nova Scotia. We could have did it.
Wow, that's powerful. I am Kirwyn, actually very just honored to kind of sit in here and learn about you. I'm not as familiar with you as the others, and so I've been blown away. And here's my question: listening to your background as it relates to in the science and that field, and then you're an established poet and creative, and so stereotypically, when my friends, when we talk about who are not poets or creatives, we talk about creatives. There's always these descriptives of being flighty and we just special. We got our weird colors and the way we walk and talk. Just we're in our own world and lane. And I'm like, yeah, but that's what it is. So be it. But to hear you, talk about your profession, and then to know you, to see and hear you as a poet, a creative, it blows my mind, because I spent a lot of years, everything that I'm doing currently, it's all about me blending my profession and my passion. Like I was tired of feeling like one of the lines in my bio was at one point, at the time I was teaching, I was a teacher by day and a poet by night. And I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to be one person. Yeah. Do you find yourself walking a parallel line? But I see you're working on a project where things are coming, or do you feel like a set of parallel lines and your profession and your passion, if I may put it that way? Or have you found the happy medium of blending those two? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm still finding it. I think for a really long time, I really didn't like, my job. And even like going a little bit further back, like, my dad was one of those people that were like, oh, you're going to go into science. Like, that's what you're going to do. So it was kind of like, in the midst of college, like I kind of found that poetry was like my passion.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm at a point where I found a job where, it kind of blends like the more technical part with, the care for the patient. I think that's where I, the part of me that really, gravitates towards service and gravitates towards like, more of those type of things. Like it helped me. And so now it's just about creating that discipline of the writing to be able to, just maintain that. And so that's kind of what I'm working on like right now. Yeah.
Do you see yourself as a servant and as it relates to poetry? Do you see yourself as a poetry servant?
No, that's an interesting way of putting it. Maybe, maybe because I do kind of when I'm writing it, it is about like there is a part of it that's like I'm asking God for lines, like
Yeah.
that's a part of it, and so and also like I feel like there's a accountability that I have to Philadelphia and the Philadelphia poetry scene, to like if there's a poet that is looking for something, if there's a poet that needs just somebody to like look at something, that hey, like if I can't, then maybe here's another person that can.
Sure.
And so yeah, so I think I do kind of consider
That's
myself
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
That kind of feeds into what I have this philosophy about write for you, perform for them.
Oh, nice. I love that. Then yeah, I had to quote you on that.
Yes.
I say that all the
You
time.
do?
Write for you, perform
Oh my
for
God.
them.
That needs to be on a shirt and everything. A whole, yes, that's
A whole
fantastic.
situation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Kirwyn, I want you to move your camera or your face over. Let me see which way. Right
There
there,
you go.
right there, right there in the middle. Because once we all
Right
came on the screen, we couldn't see you very well. We want to make sure we'll have like one eye Kirwyn on the.
Kirwyn's not only a whale watcher, he's a pirate, apparently.
Okay, well, I got some questions. Let me see what I want to ask. Let me see. Okay. As people of accomplishments, we do not give ourselves the credit that we need to. I heard you on here giving everybody big up, shout out to you for giving everybody the shout outs, right? So I want you to take an opportunity right now and shout out yourself for something that you just accomplished. Shout yourself out, something you just accomplished. Tell me. And listen, we already know about the book, so don't tell us the book. Tell us something else, right? What did you accomplish?
Everybody took the same pose. Look at all three of us.
Oh wow. Okay. What did I just accomplish? Well, this is gonna be work related, but I just closed. We're working on a specific study, and we just closed the database for that study, and so yeah, so I was in charge of making sure all that data was clean and correct, and we did it on time. So yeah.
All right now.
As someone who's worked in a research hospital as a writer, but in the research hospital, that's hard.
Yes, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's a lot going on.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's darn near.
Okay. And my follow-up question is, okay, first let me shout out my mama. Hey, mama, because my mama be watching us. She loves me. Hey, mama. Okay, shout out my mama. My mama is my number one fan. When anything happens, she is the first person I call to say, Mama, guess what's about to happen? Mama, guess what happened? My mama is my number one person. Who is your person?
Wow, who's my number one person? This is tough because I don't know if I do that. But probably my sister is like the closest to me. So that's probably. But I have a thing that I need to correct where I like keep things to myself, and I don't really like communicate things, and so yeah, I need to work on that.
Okay. Okay, so for my last question, what was it gonna be? It was gonna be something good. I was gonna follow up on the person. Let me see. It was gonna be something. Listen. I'm gonna say this is gonna be my last question, but just in case I remember what my last question was gonna be, I'm gonna come back to my last question. Okay. All right. So here's my question. That wasn't gonna be my last question. How did you? No, I'm gonna change that. What did the pandemic teach you about yourself?
It taught me that I was scared of spending time alone.
Wow.
It taught me that I before the pandemic, I was like going to an event like almost every day. Like I was just like going to an event every day, whenever I could, like going to be with friends, going to do this, going to do that. And I think like the part of being just isolated really made me like come to grips with the fact that I was like running away from things I needed to work on.
Wow.
So it really kind of like transformed how I process like, everything. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I remember what my question was, and then
Okay.
I'm gonna let our silent, not so silent member jump in. I
Hey,
see him smiling. Hey, analysis. Hey, boo.
Hey, analysis.
Hey.
Hey.
So I know you said Sherry asked her question about love and have you written any love poems? Are you a writer who believes that you can only write from experience of your own experience?
No. I definitely believe that you can. I'll say that it's you got to be. I don't want to say careful. I don't think careful is a good word, but I'll say that if I'm writing from somebody else's perspective, like I really want to make sure that that's correct as much as it can be.
We'll
But
call it mindful, not careful, just mindful.
yeah, just mindful.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Mindful, because it's a lot. Sometimes you hear stuff where it's just like I don't know, like where you got that from. But yeah, no, like it's because I like writing personal poems. I've written like a couple. So yeah, so no, definitely, I definitely write from this perspective. Yeah,
Persona poems are fun.
very
Sometimes.
fun. Very fun. I wrote one at Steve Harvey, but that's another.
Wow. Did you really?
Yeah, Steve Harvey when he interviewed Monique.
I would like to see Steve Harvey's tie as a persona poem.
Oh, wow.
Steve Harvey's ties as a persona poem.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I think I did. Speaking of ties, I want to say one of my persona poems is MLK's tie. The day of the shooting.
Wow.
I got that from some workshop, and it was like, okay, we're gonna do this. So the poem is from the perspective of MLK's necktie during the shoot, because I found out it got shot, it got cut in half by the bullet.
That's heavy.
Right.
That's a lot.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, analysis, what you got?
My man. Yo, good to see you. Good to hear you.
Absolutely.
As always. You mentioned Split This Rock earlier. That's where you and I met, as a matter of fact. At open mic one night after the schedule had ended.
Yes.
Split This Rock. There was an open mic at 14th and V, Busboys. And as I heard this brother now, I was like, oh, hell to the yeah. We going to stay in contact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is right. Absolutely. Brother after my own heart right here. And and I should say to all of our listeners that Kirwyn came down to my venue, Red Emma's Mother Earth Poetry Vibe, and put it down, for which I am and my teammates are grateful. Very fortunate to have had a number of Kitmo features who were Vibe features as well. Your book is out on the Thread Makers Blankets. Thread Makes Blankets Press. It is distributed by AK Press. And so, speaking as bookseller for a minute for our listeners, so AK Press is a worker-owned, anarchist principled worker collective publishing house. And therefore you gather, of course, at Red Emma's Bookstore Coffee House, we carry a lot of AK stuff, as you can imagine. AK doesn't let anybody just slide on up into their publishing house, whether it is directly published from them or from an imprint or related publisher. So it says something. This is more of a statement than a question. It says something to your writing and what your poetry is about and how you purpose your poetry, that it is being distributed by AK Press. And so people saw the link earlier. I do, as has already been said, encourage people to communicate with Kirwyn directly if you're in a position to get it directly from him. It will be on the shelf at Red Emma. Bookshop.org, which supports indie stores, also is a way to get it, but they are back ordered right now, which means they have to get it from AK before they can push it through Bookshop again. So again, I invite people to contact Kirwyn directly
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to point to, it's weird because it's the opposite of what I think it is. I'm trying to point to the information that's at the top.
Yeah, most definitely. So folks, go holler at Kirwyn directly, or if not, get it from AK. Bookshop will be restocked. Red Emma's will have it on the shelf when we reopen in spring. So that's one thing, and that's to your compliment. You all have already raised the name of Slangston Hughes and similar folk, you know, and I see you and Slangston and a number of poets very similarly. And one of the things when we talk about the difference between in-person performance and the book, one of the things that I like about having Slangston's book, Slanguage Arts and Griot Glimpses, that I love Slangston to death in person, can't get enough. And to sit down with his book and then follow up on some of those pieces is a fascinating thing for me to be able to unpack and wrestle with some of those. And I'm wondering, since Jump Ship has been out, how folk have reacted to having your book versus hearing you in person. Have they made similarities or in their own minds or differences? Do they find that the book re-enhances what you're saying? Because your poetry is very layered, textured, and deep, and takes study. Okay, a Kirwyn Sutherland poem deserves a second and third. It needs a second and third listen or read. And I'm wondering what the reaction has been to the book vis-a-vis your in-person performance and how people kind of connect the two, or do they connect the two?
Yeah, I think I think you said that right, because it gives people like a way to just like sit with it for a minute. Because, you know, when I write, like that's what I have in mind is like I want to be able to like, you know, sometimes hide meaning, sometimes, you know, layer meaning. And so I think it has given people a way to like really sit with like, you know, what I'm saying. And also the visual, I really, you know, like the visual aspect of it. I think like there are certain poems in the book that, you know, visually I wanted to do something. And so I think, you know, those poems people have reacted well to that are like, you know, that do something visually. Like I have a poem, that's based off of this artist Glenn Ligon's painting, and I forget the name of his, but it's all letters, and so I like rearranged like spatially the words, and so I think like people like can also visually they can like sort of engage with the book, and especially because I have like the photo like drawings in it by an artist named Femi from Philly. And so that's another way that people engage with, like, how does this particular piece on this page engage with the photo, with the drawing on this page? And so, yeah.
I was just about to raise that in terms of Oluwafemi. I was just about to ask you to talk about that. And because I wasn't sure if that he did just the cover or if you had interspersed artwork. You just answered that question, which you know, makes the piece more intriguing, makes the work more intriguing.
Yeah, Femi did like the cover in like 2 days. He did it quick, you know, and he took the Ars Poetica poems, he read them, and he came up with illustrations based off of those Ars Poetica poems. And so that's why they're close to those poems. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Good stuff, bro.
Thank you.
I have two more quick questions for you, because I want to point out something first, and then I'll ask you the last question of the night, unless anybody else has questions or there's stuff in the audience. Are we good?
No, we're good. I don't see anything in the chat.
All right. The first thing I want to point out is normally at the bottom we would run like Cash App, that kind of stuff. Yours goes to the PhillyBailout.org. So shout that out and explain to people what that is so they know.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm charging my computer.
No problem.
It happens.
Yeah, so the Philly Community Bailout Fund is a fund just to provide cash bail for folks. And they do like every year they do like a fund or a fundraiser near Mother's Day to bail out mothers specifically. So that's like kind of like one of their main funds. And I actually did like an event with them when they had, like a coming home for a lot of folks. And so I did poetry for that event. And ever since then, we've been in communication. So every time I always try to shout them out and get people to donate to the community bail fund. Yeah.
Look, listen, social justice 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I was like, I feel like I need to point that out. It's been running the whole entire show, but we're going to throw that out there so people know that's what you're doing.
Yes.
And the last question is always the last question,
Mm-hmm.
which is, here it goes, the hardest question you'll answer all night.
Oh, God. Okay.
Now that you have been on the show, who do you think, and let me rerun these so you know what I'm talking about, will make a good guest on this show for any of the segments. So just to rerun so everybody knows, mine is let's talk about the ... usually books. Then it's Kinnicky has Poets and Platforms. Miss Cayenne has Passion Projects, and Sherry has From Behind the Microphone, which is behind the actor studio type interview.
Yeah. Okay.
And it doesn't have to be one person. You can name 2 or 3. Who do you think would make a good guest on this show?
Oh, that's so hard.
I told you it's the hardest question you'll answer all night.
That's so hard. Wow. I think I'm trying to think about somebody who has, you know what? There's a poet named Jaylene Clark Owens.
Mm-hmm.
And she did come out with a book like sort of recently, but she's also like she puts on plays, so she's in theater, and she's also like a touring poet, and she has a podcast. And so I think Jaylene Clark Owens would be a good person. And I think Christopher K.P. Brown would be a good person.
As soon as you said his name, I was like, oh, we need KP on here.
Yeah. And I need him to go in. I would love to see him in either Sherry's segment or Kinnicky's segment.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Y'all, you already know y'all two have a lot in common, Kinnicky, because the whole publishing thing.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He ran.
Yes, and I've seen someone else in our comments tonight that we need to make sure is on the list as well.
Who's that?
Enoch, the poet.
Oh yeah.
With Black Media Publishing, I believe is the name of the company that I've seen in the
yes,
comments.
yes.
Like, who is this?
That name pop up too. I saw that name pop up. And I was like, yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
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 I just want to do a quick personal commercial, a little self-promotion, but Hitmo related self-promotion. If you were here on Let's Talk About ... last month, our guest was Angelique Palmer.
Yep.
If you would like to see this amazing poet in person and you are in the Washington, D.C. area, they will be featuring at Busboys and Poets, 450 K Street this Wednesday.
Yep.
From 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So please.
What? Where's my calendar? Let me see what I'm doing that day.
I know what you're doing that night.
I'm about to follow on through.
So Angelique will be at Busboys and Poets, 450 K Street. I will be hosting.
Oh no!
I told you I knew what you was doing.
I already knew what was there. I knew it was on the calendar.
So
I know my calendar better than my calendar.
Because listen, man,
so everybody come out.
I'm in a position to have choices, life choices.
Yes,
I know.
So I hope to see everyone this week. If you can come out to 450 K Street, tickets are on sale now. If not, I hope to see you back next Sunday for Passion Projects with Miss Cayenne, and her feature is.
We're going to have Leslie Neely. She is a creative. She actually coaches other creatives to live their best life. So it's kind of going to be an interesting conversation. You got to check in for that one.
That sounds fun.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Everyone, that sounds like so much fun.
Oh, yes. As we say, everyone, please come back next week. We are here, as you know, 7 to 9. Please like and subscribe and follow on YouTube and Facebook. Let the people know. We almost got our first 50 subscribers.
Hey.
We're trying to get there.
I mean, we just started StreamYard not that long ago, so we're working it up slowly.
We're working it up. Yeah,
we're slowly working it up.
We have decent numbers on Facebook, thankfully, because we've been there the whole time. StreamYard is the newer of the things that we've done. We're definitely, I love the turnout we're getting on Instagram too. So people are seeing the things, they're showing up, they're watching shows. Thank you all. Again, like, subscribe, share, keep this on.
Yeah, we are Keep the Mic on all social media. And we will be back next Sunday. Everyone, please stay safe, wash your hands, and we will see you all back here next week.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kirwyn.
Thank you, Kirwyn.
Appreciate it. Thank you
So much.
And